Okay,
Right.
I wanted to ask you because I thought this was really interesting, and I looked up some pictures of this creature. Your theory that Leviathan was Dinosuchus,
Yeah.
and what a beast! Thank God those don't live today. Just these massive, terrible crocodiles. So I wonder, with Dinosuchus, what a threat that would be, because that kind of creature would dominate the water, but it could also come on land and dominate the land. And so it could terrorize in many ways. And I was reading that it would feed on big dinosaurs, even T-Rex. And so what traits do you think from Dinosuchus and then the description of Leviathan in Job, which traits do you think fit the best where it would be that creature?
Yeah, so it talks about it leaving a shining, shimmering wake behind it. You see that easily when crocodiles are out there swimming at the surface of the water, or I should say crocodilian species, because we can see that in modern crocodiles. When a crocodile walks through a muddy environment, it leaves pointed tracks in the sand, which is another identifier in Job 41. And I don't know if you can see my screen. I actually pulled it back up the slide where I actually have a picture of that. Yeah,
I've got it on screen.
So there's a trackway, and this is in sand actually, but you can see that the steps of the claw marks, right? Those could be considered pointed, right? But then also you've got the way that the tail moves under the sand, and those almost look like kind of these en echelon pointed marks in the sand. It talks about the scales being fixed close together so that a javelin can't get through, and these crocodilian species actually have these bony plates called scutes, and there's a picture of one there. You'll find those frequently in the fossil record. They're bone. I mean, these aren't just like fish scales; these are solid bone, very hard. They're huge. They took down T-Rex and other, big dinosaurs back in their day. 10 meters, that's like 30 feet. That's the size of a bus. Okay, these things are massive. There is the one about sparks shooting out of its mouth. Well, I've kind of drawn a artist conception in the top left, and I've got that on my slides just to kind of remind us that the point of Leviathan was to draw us back to the Creator, and so everything I'm kind of sharing with you today is to draw us back to Creator, right? So Leviathan does that. The geologic events coming do that. But I drew this Dinosuchus or Sarcosuchus. They're all different crocodilian species.
That's right. Yeah.
Drew it with fire coming out of its mouth. We know that Komodo dragons and other animals can spit acid or fire or sparks. So it's entirely within the realm of possibility. We don't know because all we got is fossils, bones left. We don't have any soft parts or they're not walking around today, but it's possible. And then one of the other things is the teeth, all right? The teeth and claws. The size of these teeth and these Dinosuchus were like the size of a banana. And Job talks about the fearsome iron-like teeth of these creatures. So just so many different indicators, just from the way it moves, the way it hunts, to its anatomical descriptions. I think a lot of creation scientists agree that it's some kind of crocodilian, whether it's Dinosuchus or Sarcosuchus or one of the other super crocs. Okay, so yeah.
Well, I think that's good. I think this would make a good clip too, because so many people wonder what Leviathan could have been. And I think this type of creature, like you said, there's a variety of them, but at the end of the day, they're all the same. The same creature with the variation, but these they're massive and they certainly fit the description. And looking at Job chapter 41, canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? And so it does sound like it is a creature, obviously, that man can't take on. So this is a creature man can't take on, but it also has that ability to be in the water, but to also be on land. That's why I used to think that Spinosaurus would be a good candidate, because you see Spinosaurus is in the water and also can be on land, and it's monstrous. But Dinosuchus makes a lot of sense too. What you said with the nostrils, that is a good point. today, you know, the bombardier beetle can do some pretty fascinating things. Komodo dragons have that venomous bite. So there are creatures today. It's been a while, so I might be butchering this, but I remember reading or watching someone speak on some of these fossils of these massive creatures in the past, like Deinosuchus and T-Rex and Spinosaurus, where they had some interesting features associated with their nostrils that they couldn't quite figure out what the use was. And perhaps it did have something to do with breathing sparks or smoke, or, you know, I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but it's entirely possible.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in particular, but I mean, where did all the dragon legends come from? I think they came from some basis in reality.
That's a good point. Legends come from something that's real, and then they're embellished over time, of course. Right now, you've got the dragon that can fly and can breathe a crazy amount of fire, but those are embellishments from something that is based in reality. So I think that's an interesting theory right there, Ryan. That definitely caught my attention.